Before we let you go, I want to talk about Kid Cudi. We understand he is breaking his silence about that dramatic testimony in Diddy's criminal trial.
Yeah.
He says he did not want to do it at all, but did it for the sake of his ex, Cassie. I think, I remember him testifying that he claimed at the trial that Diddy burned out his car, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was in a trial full of, I think, many memorable moments. That was one of the most memorable because you've got, this other guy who is a star and he's in the courtroom with this massive star in Diddy, and he's testifying to the fact that that Diddy either did it himself or he asked or ordered somebody to drop a Molotov cocktail into his Porsche and burn the car and break into his home, and all of these really terrible and crazy things. So he goes on the Call Her Daddy podcast with Alex Cooper, obviously one of the most popular podcasts out there now. And he says, I said no to the federal government multiple times. They asked me to testify. I said no. They asked again. I said no. And then I got the subpoena in the mail, and he knew at that point he had no choice. So he shows up to court. He said he didn't know what to wear. He's a stylish guy. He wanted to make sure that he had the right outfit on. But you're right. Ultimately, he said, I love Cassie as a friend, although they did date at one point. But he says, I love her as a friend. I wanted to be there for her. And I think bottom line, even more so than the subpoena ordering him to be there, I think the reason that he was ultimately there is because he does have a lot of love, even to this day, for Cassie, and he wanted to be there to support her. Ultimately, they probably end up losing. It was a mixed verdict, but I think Diddy probably leaves this thing a winner because he beat the most serious charges, and he was convicted on the two least serious charges.
Right.
Do you think, if Kid Cudi's talking about his car being blown up, someone breaking into his house, he was probably scared of retaliation if he did say anything. Have you heard of any reports since?
No, you know what? I haven't, but that's a great point. I think it's not just Cudi now. I think it's anybody who testified now, because the reality is that Diddy before was facing up to life in prison. Now, while he is facing technically, in the absolute worst case, 20 years in prison, he is likely going to do something like 1, 2, 3 years in prison, and then he's going to be out. And I think, people who Diddy may have perceived as having crossed him, you wonder if those people are worried. They painted him to be a terrible person, a monster on trial. So if he actually is that guy, I would probably be scared myself too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the sentencing itself, refresh our memories, is that happening sometime this fall?
October 3rd, yeah. So
October 3rd.
Yeah, he's asked for bond a bunch of times, even after he was convicted. He said, I wasn't convicted on any charges of violence. Can you let me go? And the judge said, no, you're going to stay in there until October 3rd, and again, probably beyond. How far beyond, I think, is the biggest question right now.
Now, after the sentencing, is there a chance that P. Diddy's legal team then goes on offense? And there could be any, Caitlin asked about backlash for some of these allegations. With Kid Cudi or maybe others who testified against him.
Yeah. He's got the means, right? A lot of times that's a barrier to going after somebody legally. You just don't have the money to do it. Right. He's got all the money in the world, so that's not an option. I think it's probably going to come down to, for him, he wants to try and get past this somehow. I don't think people are ever going to forget about this, but he wants to try and move past it. If he does choose to embroil himself in lawsuits going forward, then he is kind of choosing to keep himself in the middle of this. So that's the only reason I may doubt that would happen, but I think he's got the means to do it. And if he says, hey, forget it, I want to go after these people who went after me, he could, absolutely.
So when someone goes to jail or to prison, especially, what happens to their money? Is it just locked up? Because you say he has the means, so he still has a lot of money. Yeah.
In this case, it'll just be sitting there waiting for him when he gets out. Okay. Obviously, in situations there might be restitution, or there might be court costs and fees to pay, and there likely will be in this case, and we'll find that out in October. But it'll just be sitting there. The many hundreds of millions, if not more, will be sitting there for him when he gets out.
Michael, I got to ask you this. It kind of raised the question, he's a relatively young guy. I'm guessing he's in his 50s or so. Yeah. And he's got a ton of money. He's not looking at a lengthy prison sentence.
No.
Are there any other kind of stars, I guess R. Kelly, or maybe that have just been pushed out of Hollywood? Because, like you were saying, his reputation is not really going to recover after that video. What do you see?
I don't know if it will.
The future
it may.
for him be?
I remember. You know what? Because I've learned my lesson here. I remember when O.J. Simpson got out of prison in Nevada years ago, and I said, surely he's going to be a pariah. Like nobody's going to want anything to do with this guy. And then every other day, you got people like sending us pictures here. Here's O.J. Simpson at so and so bar with his fans, and he was like he was the mayor. So
that's a good point. It's hard to hard to predict
and we've already heard he
things.
wants to have a concert at Madison Square Garden. So that's Diddy's plan.
It's almost like when you're famous, you're famous. If people know your name,
yeah. Any publicity
really
is good publicity.
They don't care.
Right, good or bad.
That's the ugly side of fame.
All right. Well, always good to see you, sir. If we don't see you tomorrow, have an awesome weekend, and maybe we'll check in next week.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael. All right.